Tell us a little bit about where you're from.
So I'm from a small town in Pennsylvania, name's Canton. I graduated with roughly 65, 70 kids, so not a very big school.
Mm,
Played three sports growing up. Just a real small farm town. Not much to do other than hunt and play sports.
I got you. I got you. Cool. So, what year did you walk on to Rutgers?
So I had the walk on tryout in 2021 in the fall, and then found out that I made the team in January of 22.
So you had a tryout in 2021, but you were at school before that, correct?
Yes, correct. I was equipment manager for the football team the fall of 2021.
Okay, awesome. So, how did you end up a equipment manager for the football team? Could you actually tell us about your high school journey and everything that you went through to become a football manager to start off college?
Yep. So it was my junior year of high school. Season was about to start. Recruiting had kicked up a little bit, and I knew I needed to make something happen to get offers, get noticed by somebody. And I had noticed a little lump in my armpit in the summertime. It was like July when I noticed the lump, and I didn't really say much. I just figured it was like a little swollen lymph node. I was getting a little sick or something, and I let it be for a month. And right before camp started, I noticed it got a little bigger, and I just said something to my mom, and we're like, well, we might as well just get it checked out and see what they have to say. And obviously, we go there. They thought the same thing, just swollen lymph node, and would be nothing. And that was all I needed to hear. So get started with camp, training camp for that season, and the whole time, like I kind of fell out of shape. Just different things just weren't adding up. I didn't feel right, and I was sleeping a lot, which wasn't normal for me. And uh, I think it was like right when the season was about to start, I went back to that same doctor, and he seemed to think nothing was wrong still. I got blood work and all that, and he referred us to a surgeon just to follow up, and we would get a biopsy and figure out what it was. And so the season goes on. Nothing had showed up on my blood work or anything like that. The season goes on, and I still continued to feel out of shape and stuff like that. And when there were times when like I would tackle somebody and my vision would like shake, and it was just very weird. And when we met with the surgeon halfway through the season, he also did not think anything was wrong. He just said that if we wanted to wait, we could get the biopsy after the season and then go from there. We could do that. And obviously, being a high school kid, just wanted to play football. That's what I decided to do. I just wanted to put it off until I was done. And so that's what I did. The season ended, and I got a biopsy like, I want to say, like 4 or 5 days after my last game. And it was going to be a little bit till we got our results. So that weekend after I got my biopsy done, I went to an in-game visit at the University of Cincinnati, and we get back that Monday and get a phone call, and they tell us to come in and get our results. And we didn't think anything of it. We just went in, figured they just say it was nothing, all good. We go in, and they asked us if we had gotten a call about the results, and we're like, no, they just told us to come here to get them. And then they had said, well, it's Hodgkin's lymphoma, form of cancer, and we're going to have to call a couple different hospitals and see where we can get you in. And that's when I ended up going to the Penn State Hershey Medical Center for all my chemo treatments. I went through about 3 months of chemo, and luckily, after all that, got a clear scan. Everything was good. So then once that was all done, I obviously needed to build myself back up, gain all my weight back, all that. And then
Yeah,
um,
let's take a slight break real quick because that's heavy. That's very heavy. You're in high school. You think about playing football, getting recruited and going to college. Like that's all you're thinking about. I mean, thinking about hanging out with your buddies and thinking about like, I mean, just you're a teenager. And describe to us what that feeling was when really your whole world gets turned upside down, and what you felt when you first heard that, hey, you have this form of cancer.
Yeah, it was a honestly, it was a very weird feeling, and being there with my mom, and my younger sister was there too when I got the diagnosis. It was very strange. They obviously got pretty emotional. I just kinda sat there and tried to gather everything that had just gone down in the last couple seconds, and it was really hard because you feel like you don't have any control over anything. Like, you as a high school kid, you feel invincible, you feel all this stuff, and you think you have control of your life, you think you have everything figured out, and then it just gets taken from you really fast, and then it's just like you don't know where to go from there. So it was really hard to take all the information and really let it go through your brain and know what to do next.
Yeah, so what that was kind of getting to my next point. So, this is a very top of the line real life stuff that is happening to you at such a young age. And um there's no age of, oh, being ready for that type of information. Not only is football in jeopardy, but your life is in jeopardy. What kind of things, good or bad, were going through your mind while you were now preparing for the chemo process?
Yeah, there was a lot of unknowns. I had obviously no idea what chemotherapy was gonna be like. I Going into it, I still didn't know what stage I had off of my diagnosis. I didn't know what stage I had, didn't know any of that. And so when we got all that figured out, it was ended up being stage 2. Um, when you go in for your consultation with your doctor, when all this stuff happens, you have to sign a bunch of paperwork, your parents have to sign paperwork, and pretty much saying, like, "This is the chemo you're gonna be getting. These are the risks of taking this form of chemo." As a parent, obviously, you never wanna have to go through that, you never wanna be doing that for your child, and, but that paperwork is pretty much like signing your kid's life away, honestly, and it's just, a hard thing to really digest in the moment. Um, but yeah, I really leading up to my first chemo treatment, I really didn't know what to expect. Obviously, the doctors tried to inform me the best they could, but I never really let myself get too worked up about it because I knew, like, I really the only thing I could control was my own mindset, and I needed to just try and stay focused and just try and relax while I'm going through all this.
Yeah, I mean, that's serious. Like, that's super heavy for you to try to bring in at such a young age. So what were your thoughts about just the rest of high school, football, the trajectory of your life? Like, what was going on in your head about those specific things?
Yeah, all that pretty much went out the window. I wasn't really worried about football or any school stuff, anything like that. Obviously, I wanted to that was one thing I wanted to do is play football again, but in the moment, I was just like, "Damn, like, I need to focus and get through this before I can think about anything else." And I will say football was definitely something that helped me get through all of it, just kept me busy. My mom has tons of pictures of me, like, watching film in my, hospital bed and stuff like that, just because that was really all I could do, and it just kinda kept my mind off of it, but I really couldn't worry about any of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you said the chemotherapy was a 3-month journey?
Yep.
Okay. And your last chemo session, that had to be just a day you'll probably remember for the rest of your life. Like, how did you feel knowing that this is something that, of course, they always tell you there's a possibility of remission and things like that, but what did that last day feel like once you climbed this mountain?
Really, really good. I do remember it like it was yesterday. I had my grandparents on my mom's side, my sisters, I had a lot of people there that day because that was the day I was going to be able to ring the bell. And it was really cool. And there was like, I remember everything. There was a big snowstorm coming in. My treatment was in the morning. And so I wanted them like to get there. I wanted to ring the bell and then let them get off and go home, do whatever they wanted to do so that they didn't get caught in the snowstorm. But yeah, it was a great feeling. I ringing the leading up to ringing the bell, I really like it didn't really hit me that like I had made it through. And I told myself like I wasn't gonna get emotional and all that stuff. And I started ringing the bell, all done, whatever. I turn around and I see my mom and everybody just standing there. And then it started hit me and then I started crying. But it was overall a really great moment to be able to do that with everybody there.
You go through 3 months of chemotherapy and you're done. So, what was that process of? Was getting back on the field? Was that a thought? Like, what were they telling you in terms of like what you can and cannot do?
So my last treatment was in March, and then I had to get I had a port which was in my chest, which was what they administered the chemo into, and my surgery was scheduled for June. So I had to wait until I got the port out before I could start actually like really exercising, because the tube went into my heart from the port, and if it had ripped out, then there would just cause a whole bunch of issues. So I had to wait till I got that out. And then once I got that out, they pretty much just told me like they knew what I wanted to do and the type of kid I was, and they just pretty much told me like go for it, do what you can, and um, pretty much just let me go. And so when I first started working out, I had lost around 20 pounds, and um, I remember the first time I tried to bench, it was like I had 135 on, and it was like I was struggling to get it off my chest. And so that was a real um, wake up call, honestly. And from there, it was pretty much just like, all right, I just got to get a little better every day. Just got to find ways to get stronger, get faster, gain my weight back. And it was a struggle. The whole summer, I just pretty much just worked out, and I eventually was able to gain all my weight back. And I gained it back pretty fast just because the way that I lost it wasn't really very natural. And my body was just needed some actual nutrition. So that actually wasn't very wasn't very hard, but then just getting my strength back, getting my speed back was pretty difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have that procedure in June, and football season starts in September. So yeah, you had time, but it wasn't that much time. It's not like you had a whole year, correct?
Well, actually, so with all this going on, so I missed pretty much the whole school year, and the state of Pennsylvania actually gave me another year of eligibility. So that next football season, I sat out just because I really wasn't ready. And I ended up wrestling in the wintertime, and which was ended up being a cool moment. I ended up placing in the state tournament in the same town where I got all my chemo treatments, which was pretty cool. And then so I went through the year, just tried to get bigger, faster, stronger. Next year comes the next year comes around, and training camp starts. I'm feeling better than I ever did, faster. Like I was feeling really good. Going into the first scrimmage, we had one scrimmage before our season started, and I was at receiver. First play on offense, running down the field. My cousin broke a run. I was trying to get out ahead to block for him. Literally just took a step, felt a pop in my knee, went down, ACL. And that was pretty much it for my senior season. And so my sister was the athletic trainer at the time at my high school when this happened. And I pretty much told her, like, no matter what it is, I'm gonna try and play. And she obviously was like, all right, well, let's just get this checked out first and see what it is. And I got my MRI done on like Monday, and we had the game on Friday night coming up. And on Thursday, I had a doctor's appointment for them to tell me my results of MRI. And going to it, I told my mom, I said, if it's ACL, I'm playing. And she's like, same thing. She's like, all right, well, we got to talk to the doctors, whatever. I get there, it was a torn ACL. And obviously my doctor's like talking like surgery, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, what would you think about me trying to play? And they knew the doctor that was in the office at the time left and talked to somebody else who was kind of the head of this little practice, and came back and said, well, if you really want to try and do it, then we're not going to be the ones that stop you, because they knew my story and what I'd been through, and they didn't want to say that I couldn't do it. So they said, we're going to brace you up and we'll send you out there and see what you can do. So I ended up playing the next day. They only let me play on defense, and I made it through 3 quarters. And I think I had 12 tackles in the game, and then I felt another pop and went down. And then after that, I was like, all right, I'm done. I need to get surgery and start that recovery process.
Wow. 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 Um, when you tear an ACL, that is automatically like, unless you're a quarterback now, maybe that's the only way that you could play. But you're playing defense, like you're cutting, you're stopping, you're going, which is the first sign. Like, I mean, it's the first movement of ACL. So that only speaks to just your toughness and you're willing to get out there and play football. So wow, that's amazing. So you tear your ACL, you get the surgery, and did you have that extra year?
So that was my extra year, because I
Oh,
sat out the year that I got back, and then went my final extra year. That was the year that I tore my ACL.
wow. So you go through high school just like any normal kid does, and you know the things that we're worried about, friends, girls, prom, just hanging out with buddies, but you have these real life, very grown, very big things that you deal with your junior and senior year. Um, so tell us about really how you got into Rutgers. Like, tell us about that.
So after my knee had happened and I got the surgery, I was in contact with a recruiter at Rutgers, and he had told me, like, listen, we really can't offer you anything. We can't give you preferred walk on. Like, it's obviously, and I understood that. Like, I had no film from my last film was from my junior year, which was 3 years before my I graduated, because of how everything went down. And
Mhm.
I understood all that, and they had told me, and I just, even though I understood and he told me they weren't going to give me anything, I still annoyed him pretty much every day, sending him texts, like, just trying to stay in his ear just in case anything opened up. And he eventually just told me, listen, like, if you want to come here and be a student manager, go for it. And then come in the spring, try out, then so be it. Like, you can do it if you want and whatever. And when I read that text, I was like, well, yeah, like, that's what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm gonna do it. And so I talked to my parents, got all that figured out. Obviously had to get into school first, got into Rutgers, showed up on my birthday for the first day of camp as a manager, and got to work. I was with the defensive backs, is who I worked with. I would like take balls to the indie, set up their indie drills and stuff like that. And so I did that throughout the summer, and then in the season, I did it the whole season. And my tryout was actually after week 2.
Well,
Um,
before your tryout, I mean, it's uh it's so dense of your experiences of like just everything that you went through. I don't want to pass up anything of this story. So you go through your whole year. Well, going back to high school, so you have this really traumatic experience twice,
yeah,
like two traumatic experiences, and but you played it. You still love the game. As you mentioned, like that was something that kept you going during your chemo treatments and things like that. That's something that you wanted to get back to immediately. Um, and you know that if you just got the short end of the stick, really, and you know, got some rough, like a really tough situations to deal with, but you feel like you're still as good as everybody, still like a good football player. Uh, what did that feel like? Really having to humble yourself beyond anything, and instead of suiting up, being a student manager. Like, how did that feel?
yeah, it was really hard, as I'm sure you know. Like you want to be that dude. You want to be coming from your hometown. You want to be going big places and doing big things. And it was really hard. And telling like my high school coach, like, listen, this is what I'm gonna do. Like I'm gonna go here and be a student manager when he knows that I should be playing college football somewhere, whether it be D3, D2, whatever. And so yeah, it was really hard to just tell that to people and get them to believe in what you believe in. You know what I mean? Like I believed in myself the whole time. Like I knew I was gonna be able to make it here and do all the things I was gonna say, but there's a lot of people that I know that didn't really believe in me. And so that was the biggest part, was just having to go on without anybody really understanding what I was doing. And I definitely doubted myself when I got here, just really getting the first glimpse at Big Ten football and watching the practices and everything. Like the dudes are fast. There's D linemen running 4.6, 4.5. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. And um, once I once everything started to like slow down for me, when I started watching it, I kind of started to feel better about myself because everything just kind of happened all at once. But um, yeah, it was definitely very humbling to come here and be doing these guys' laundry and setting up their drills and just all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Humbling is an understatement to that. That's just crazy. I had a similar experience coming out of while I was in college, like I had to get the job because, like it's just what you do. And one of the jobs was the groundskeeper at Cal Berkeley. And so I had to basically pick weeds of the field that we were running up the next day. So like at the 6 a.m. workout. So it's nothing compared to like what you've been through, but like that humbling of just like,
Yeah.
wow, like I should be not worried about this, but like I'm in this. Yeah. So wow. So getting back to your tryout, it's all of this stuff has happened. You are feeling better physically, mentally, as you mentioned, it started to slow down for you. You saw how it operates. You saw how it went, and the self-talk within has showed you that, like, hey, I could still do this regardless of what I've been through. I could still do this. I could still make the team. Tell us about the day that you tried out.
So going into it, it was in the middle of the week, and it was they had it scheduled for right after practice, and I decided that I knew that I needed to have fresh legs, but I knew that if I had worked practice before I went to this tryout, that it would look better in the coach's eyes. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna wake up in the morning, work practice, and then go to this tryout. And so I woke up, everything normal, went to practice, got through that, and a few of the coaches, I kind of networked a little bit. I went to um, one of the recruiting guys, just kind of introduced myself and said that I was going to try out, just so he knew me. Um, I think I told a few of the coaches that I was going to try and go to the tryout and make the team, whatever, and just to kind of get it in the air. And then so I went to the tryout after practice, nervous as heck. I was freaking out. It definitely helped that I knew the people in the program, but it's still I was so nervous just because everything leading up to this day was just this is why I came to New Jersey. This is why I did this and that. And so it was just kind of scary moment for me. But then we got going with warming up and all that, got into the agility drills. Uh they threw the ball around a little bit, ran some routes, stuff like that. And once I got in the thick of it, it was obviously the nerves were gone and all that. But once I got done, um, the assistant head coach who was running it just told us like we'll reach out to you guys and let you know and all that. And that was all we did. We left, whatever. There was about like 20 guys there. So then from then on, it was like just a waiting game whether or not I was going to make it or not. And then I didn't end up finding out till January, and this had happened in September.
Wow. Wow. So, you go through the season again. I mean, you go through the season not knowing of what happened. And so describe to us what that feeling was like of how did they tell you?
So I actually got a text message. It was we actually Rutgers had got a bowl game in 2021, and they because of COVID and all that they got a bowl game. I worked the bowl game down in Jacksonville, Florida. Um, and then once the bowl game was over, we went home and we were able to go on winter break. So I went home. I was really doubting myself. Like I was talking to my dad on the couch the night that I found out right before. We're like trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. And I was like, saying, should I transfer? Should I do this, that, whatever? And it was probably 30 minutes later, I get a text from one of the coaches saying, Happy New Year. Hope all is well. We have a roster spot for you. And then everything just like lifted off my shoulders. It was just a great moment, especially be able to um, be with my family when it happened too. That was really cool. And just knowing that everything had finally came together the way I wanted it to was awesome.
So I mean, so what was it like? You got the text. This wasn't a phone call. This wasn't like they showed up at your place. This was a very discreet way of giving you some life-changing news. Like you said you were with your dad, you said you were with your family. Did you jump up? Did you scream? Did you just show them the phone? Were you calm? Like how was that exactly?
Uh, I think I was pretty calm. I like read it. I remember reading it and said, "No way." And my parents are like had no idea what was going on, thought something was wrong, whatever. And then I said it and my dad just I think he kind of like chuckled a little bit, just like of relief a little bit. My mom was happy, started tearing up a little bit, and I just set my phone down and was just like, "Holy crap." Couldn't really believe it. And it didn't have to be a call. I did not care at all. He could have sent me a letter in the mail. It doesn't matter to me. I made it, and that's all I needed.
Wow, wow. So I mean, so this was during the break after the bowl game, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So now the next point in the season is the winter workouts. Um, but instead of being a student manager, instead of that, you're putting on the stuff, you're putting on the cleats, you got your locker, you're getting ready to warm up. What did that feel like?
Uh, it was it was crazy. My first day in, actually, So I walk in and they didn't have my locker really set up yet, and it was just a plain locker, whatever. And I sit down in it. I got my iPad, and I was in a lot earlier than everybody else, just who I am, whatever. And I'm just sitting there, like, kind of nervous. We had a team meeting coming up, and I was just all the guys started coming in, and they had known me as an equipment manager, and they did not think one thing of it walking by me, just kind of nodding their head, saying what's up, whatever. And uh then we go to dinner. I'm eating dinner and I'm eating with them kind of up there, and they don't notice any other equipment managers. And Austin Alberici, one of he was a quarterback who just graduated. He came over and sat down with me, and he's like, "Are you on the team?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, they brought me on. I tried out, whatever." And he was all excited, whatever. He was a walk on as well. And then he started telling guys started finding out, and they were just kind of confused. And their team's bringing on an equipment manager doesn't really sound too appealing, but yeah, it was really cool. And um, then obviously as I got to know the guys more, whatever, they warmed up to me and whatever. But yeah, it was a pretty cool day.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. So first workout, they find out you're on the team, like things are just happening. Training camp, season. Tell us about just the well, let's start with the training camp. Start you put on pads for the first time in a while, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
So put on pads and you're hitting, and it's not a small town high school. This is Power Five, Big Ten, which is known as a more physical conference. Like, just, I mean, what are you feeling? What was that first, like when you first got hit for the first time? What was that like?
yeah. I really don't remember my first hit, but yeah, it was really eye opening. It really I was just so excited to be there. It really didn't matter, and I'm not afraid to get hit, to hit, whatever. But yeah, it was really cool. Everything was a lot faster being actually on the field versus watching. So that took a little adjusting, but overall, it was just really fun to be back and playing again.
Awesome. So when at what point in the season did you get your first playing time? First snap, I would say.
Um, So it was week 2, I think we played Wagner. I'm pretty sure we played Wagner, and I got in for one play on defense at the end of the game, which was cool. My parents were there, everybody was there. It was a cool
Mhm.
moment.
Okay.
Nothing. I think Wagner fumbled, and
Mhm.
they fumbled a snap, balls on the ground. That was it. That was the only thing
Also,
that happened.
quick play, quick play.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, but then my first real snap on special teams during the season was against Ohio State.
Wow.
On I was on kickoff and punt block.
Wow. So, and speaking of the pump block, done some research, and you had a very special moment against Michigan.
Yeah.
Tell us that day. Tell us that story.
So leading up to it, in our meetings, obviously we were going over the game plan. And Coach Giano was laying out the punt block, what we were gonna try and do. We knew we had something cooking, and he it was kind of weird because he called it out. He was like, um, he looked at me and he's like, this is how it's gonna go. This is how we're gonna block it. And then Timmy Ward, you're gonna be there. You're gonna scoop it up. You're gonna take it in the end zone. And he's like, it's gonna be a great moment, whatever, and all this. And obviously, we all kind of laughed and, yeah, whatever. And
Mhm.
um, so we practiced it all week. Uh, Comes game time, we get in there. Uh, Everything works out just the way we wanted it to. Everybody does their job, and Max Melton, being the dude he is, gets the ball on the ground, and I'm just standing there and it's rolling out in front of me. And so in my head, I just knew that I couldn't screw it up. I was just like, all right, just just get it off the ground and get it in the end zone. That's what I did, and then it was just history from there.
Wow. Wow. So you go from cancer survivor, came back from an ACL, extra year, student manager, tryout, walk onto the team, finally get back in pads, and now in your first year back, you over here scoring a touchdown, and you hear that crowd. You got your teammates jumping on you, like celebrating. Was your family there that day?
So funny story. My sister, my older sister, she was due with her first son. It was like a couple days after the game. So my parents stayed home just in case anything happened. So none of my family was there. And that was the only game that they didn't go to.
Wow, wow. I mean, that I know that they were probably. I know your parents were probably running all up and down the street and everything once they heard. But I mean, what did that feel? What was that feeling like when, man? Like I've been through. Did it all hit you at once? Was it delayed? Like how was that moment for you scoring the touchdown?
Yeah, it was pretty delayed in the moment. I don't know. I'm sure it's happened to you before. You just kind of black out. Like it is what it is. You're just kind of focused on what's going on and get off the field. Everybody's excited and they're all around me, hitting my head, whatever. And I'm like telling them to get off me because I got to go out for kickoff and get ready
Yeah.
for that and get locked in. So it didn't really hit me that night at all. And then talking to my parents, it got real. And then once that weekend was over, once I had talked to my parents and all my family and stuff, like after that it was pretty much over for me as far as the excitement for it. I knew we had a half a season to go still, so I pretty much didn't think much of it after that.
Wow. Wow. I mean, still regardless, like that's an accomplishment. That is something that you're gonna remember forever. And it was supposed to happen. I mean, that you can call it what you want, but you were supposed to pick up that ball just as your coach said. Like,
Yeah.
so that's such an amazing moment. I mean, I know I've answered or asked so many questions in between, but let's get back to it a little bit. How does being a walk on inspire you?
Yeah, it's a real gritty way to go, honestly. Luckily at Rutgers, walk-ons get treated very well. They are um we have the same opportunities as everybody else. You work hard and um, coach sees it, he's going to give you an opportunity, whether you're a walk on or scholarship guy. And that's just the kind of dude he is. And, but yeah, it's very humbling to come up this way, working to get a scholarship. It's really tough, but honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, so you know, it's even kind of hard to ask this question because you've been through. I mean, nobody else would has gone through what you've gone through. I mean, your walk on story is definitely not the typical one, but to the guy who is seeing your story, to the guy who is a current walk on, like what would you say to all current and future walk ons?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to focus and work as hard as you can. There's really no right or wrong way to go about um, trying to earn a scholarship or anything like that. It's just one thing you do got to do, so you got to work. And um, me, like you said, I have a very unique story, and I mean, I know that I do, but I feel like everybody has their own story, and they have their own things that happen to them throughout their lives that kind of push them in a certain direction and make them have to change what they're doing. And so I don't really think as my like I don't think of my story as like bad things that happened to me or whatever, and I'm mad about it or anything like that, because if I didn't get cancer in 2018, my junior year, whatever, I would not be at Rutgers right now. for sure. Like I wouldn't be here. So all the things that have happened to me while I've been here, all the things that I've been able to do, like they never would have happened. Maybe I would be playing somewhere else with a scholarship or whatever, but like I wouldn't be scoring against Michigan whatever week whatever week it was, you know what I mean? Like it's just I don't know, it's just whatever um all the things that happen to you in your life is what brings you to the point. It's hard to word it. All the things that occur in your life are what bring you to this point. So it's really like I really can't complain about anything that's happened.
Wow. Wow. That's real. I mean, that's again, like you said, this is your story, nobody else's, but everybody has a story. Um, but I mean, that's all the questions I have for you. I mean, thank you so much for doing this. This was very inspiring for me, and just to hear your story and what you've been through. Like, not everybody is built like you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever, just the adversity that you've gone through to still genuinely love the opportunity. I mean, just love the game, and you know, get on the field, because getting on the field is great. Like, that's a moment. You just had so many moments, and for me, like I wouldn't, just as you said, like I wouldn't be in Rutgers if I didn't have cancer. Like, if I wasn't a walk on, I probably wouldn't have been in the league. Like
Yeah.
that's how I feel. So I mean, just keep going, man. Like, yeah, I definitely have been inspired by this today, but keep going, and it goes as far as you take it.